Hello and welcome to Get Yourself Optimized. I am so excited and thrilled and just over the moon to have Sheila Gillette join us today. Following her near-death experience in 1969, Sheila became the direct voice channel for a collective of 12 archangels known as THEO. In 1998, she published her first book, The Fifth Dimension, Channels to a New Reality, and also co-authored her second book, The Soul Truth, A Guide to Inner Peace, with her husband Marcus in 2009. Many people recognize her and Theo from the Abraham Hicks publications as the mentors to Esther Hicks that opened her up to channeling Abraham in 1984. And I am a big fan of Abraham and Esther Hicks. So it's such a pleasure and honor to have you here on the show today. Thank you for joining us, Sheila.
Well, it's certainly my privilege and pleasure to be here. And I love hearing that you are a student of Abraham, as many are. And I am just so pleased to have been a little bit a part of that in the beginning. So it's my pleasure to be here and to talk about that and all the other things you may be curious about.
Wonderful. So let's start with how this all began for you. And I know you've certainly told this story many, many times, but how did you end up becoming a channel for Theo?
Well, as you spoke, in 1969, I had a near-death experience. It was after the birth of a child. I had pulmonary embolus, and both my lungs were non-functional. And it's so interesting now with this pandemic, with this virus, that it's affecting people's lungs, because I can sure empathize and know how the feeling of not being able to breathe is. But I was in intensive care, and I felt like I had an elephant sitting on my chest. And I was fully aware I was not being given any drugs or anything like that, because I was on anticoagulants so that I wouldn't be having any blood clots. So I was totally aware. And I just laid in that bed, in that cubicle, and I just kept saying, "Hey, God, give me a job." I had a brand new baby, and I wanted to stay on the planet. And I had 2 small children at home. So I just kept saying that over and over again. And then the room became extremely bright. And it was almost so bright, it brought tears to my eyes. And when I focused at the end of my bed, I saw some movement, that Jesus was standing at the end of my bed. Well, you can imagine that was a little interesting, is the word I would use. But he stood there, and I looked at him. I was mesmerized by his eyes. And he smiled at me, and he crossed his arms underneath the big sleeves of his garment. And when he did that, I heard in my inner mind hearing, as we hear our own thoughts, not externally as we hear each other, I heard a distinct male voice say to me, "Remember, my child, you are loved." And at that point, I felt like the crown of my head opened up and this warm substance had been poured in, because I just felt this warmth seeping down inside my body. And when it went through my trunk of my body, I felt as if I could take a deep breath. And I started getting better. This happened within just probably a few seconds. But as I speak to you about it, it's as if it just happened moments ago. There's no lack of vivid memory of it. So I say that I had a miraculous healing in those moments in intensive care, because my family was being prepared for my imminent death. And the doctors were surprised as I started getting better. And I was in the hospital for about a month until I was strong enough to be released. And when I went home, I kept getting stronger. And about 6 months later, I had all kinds of psychic phenomena happening internally and externally. I could do automatic writing. I could hear messages as I heard Jesus's voice that day. I got information that was about Watergate 2 years before it was made public. It was a very interesting time. I had external phenomena. When I'd sit in a chair, the chair would physically be shaken when spirit wanted to talk to me. And I even had my bed levitate in the middle of the night one night. So it was quite unnerving at times, but it was the angelic beings that speak through me, Theo, wanted me to know that this was not me making this up, because I have a very analytical mind, thinking, this must be on, some kind of fantasy or something I'm making up. So I had so much phenomena that was going on, I couldn't possibly have made up. And then the information I was being given was then verified and confirmed, so that I would know that these things, these truths were being given. So what kept me going in these first moments, or first couple of weeks actually, was just, and not being afraid, because it was so unusual, was that commitment I made in that intensive care room, saying, God, I'll do anything. Give me a job. I want to stay on the planet. Had I been given a roster of positions available, I don't know that I would have chosen this, because in 1969, these kinds of things were not openly discussed. In fact, people were afraid if you had psychic gifts or information coming to you. It was real off-putting. So it wasn't something that I went, hey, guess what I can do? But I worked with science later on. They heard of me and invited me to be tested for my psychic ability, which I certainly was enthusiastic about, because it gave me that seal of approval that you're not a crazy person, you're psychic and you have these abilities, and they were verified. So it's been, a journey of 50 years that I've been doing this work, and it's been so gratifying. I am just so grateful to have the opportunity to share this wisdom with the world.
Amazing. And over this 50-year journey, are there particular highlights that you want to share with our listener of things that were particularly profound or changed maybe the course of humanity and history and so forth?
Well, there's been a lot given over those many years, but in my first book, The Fifth Dimension, Channels to a New Reality, Theo had been talking about the fifth dimensionary energy, and it's fully in place on the planet now. It's a vibrational frequency of consciousness shift. And this has been over 4 decades. They've been giving that information. And they said this, as it culminated, there would be tremendous changes in the world, politically, economically. And so this is the time we're living in now for those prophetic words coming true. Because as we know, with the pandemic, it's made us realize, if we hadn't known before, how connected we are throughout the world. It matters not what country we live in, what color our skin, what language we speak. It's an equal opportunity for all human species, and even some of the animal species. So it's made us realize that we are very connected. There's, as Theo says, when they look at our world, they don't see any demarcation lines between countries and people. They said lines on a map. They don't see that. They see us as one. And that this will bring us together. And this time, our consciousness will shift and we'll come together as a global species, not separated by country or economics, because it's all going to be better still on the greater behalf of us.
Mm.
these changes.
Okay. So it's in our
But there have been,
it's in our best interest what's happening now ultimately as far as giving us an awareness that we didn't have before.
yes, and the innovations that are going to come out of this, we don't even know yet, you know, ecologically. You know, what I was amazed at, and I've just seen these confirmations throughout the years, and they they actually spoke in that time of the Fifth Dimension book that all these changes would begin in the Baltic states. And after the book was published in December of 88, then 1989, the wall came down in Germany. And I did not realize, because I hadn't really researched geographically, but Germany is a Baltic state.
Mm.
So this evolution started coming of us coming together in a higher way of thinking and connectivity. But I'll have to tell you, I went and taught in Germany, and I taught with some of my peers, and we were in Stelshagen, Germany, which is Eastern Germany. And I stood in the Baltic Sea, and I went, "Oh my gosh, this is where they were speaking about the changes beginning." And I have to tell you, it gave me some, I call them God bumps, but those chills we get when truth is told us.
Yep. Yep. I get that a lot. I get that every morning, actually. Most mornings when I do my morning connection, when I do my Anabacoa prayer. It's really beautiful.
That's that's wonderful. That means you're connecting to source energy, to the infinite. So that's wonderful.
Yeah. Feels great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have a few more questions, and I know we can go to Theo at any point. I'll be ready soon, but I wanted to ask you about well, first of all, in 2018 or early 2019, you did an interview. I watched it, and I saw that it was posted in early 2019 onto YouTube. And Theo spoke about 2020 and how tumultuous, I don't know that that's the word that was used, but that 2020 was going to be profoundly different. And that was a bit of an omen. If you had
Mm-hmm.
watched that video prior to 2020, you'd be wondering, like, what's coming in 2020, I wonder. But now we know. And I'm curious, what sort of prophecies or prophetic visions or voices or what have you like, what has maybe prevented you from just staying out of harm's way or protecting loved ones from getting hurt or whatever? Have there been situations where essentially Theo pulled you or loved ones out of the way of an oncoming bus, essentially?
Oh, yes. Actually, I've had a few things, precognitive, if you would, nudges maybe to slow down. Actually, as I was riding on the back when I was younger, my children's father had a motorcycle, and we lived in the mountains in Colorado, and he took me on a ride, and it was quite a windy ride, as you know, in the mountains it is. And so I got the message, and I was on the back of this motor, and he was going pretty fast, that we were coming around a curve, and I heard the message, slow down. There's danger. And so I told him, and he slowed down because he knew to trust those messages when I got them. And we came around the corner, and there was a huge boulder that had come down onto the highway that he had to navigate around, and not to oncoming traffic. So things like that I've been given. I always check in on my children. Just I use my psychic ability, not only Theo, but my own intuitive abilities every single day for those kinds of things. But to your point of Theo's message about 2020, I just read what they said. My daughter sent over an email that Theo's quote for 2020 to your point, and they said it would be a really powerful year. I'm paraphrasing, but that it will change the trajectory of our lives. I guess that's pretty true, isn't it? So there have been things like that throughout all these years, and I pay attention to that. But I have to tell you, I'm very optimistic because Theo's been talking about the changes that are happening now in our world, not in a negative way, but in a positive way for all of us. And because I've had enough confirmations in my life, I have no reason not to believe that.
Right. So we're in for a beautiful awakening, and not for Armageddon and all sorts of death and destruction.
They said all this chaos, out of this chaos will come order and we'll be better for it, which I believe to be true because we're better together than we are apart, as everybody says. And our technology has brought us to the point where you and I can do this. We're in different countries, and here we are sitting in the same room having this conversation. Theo told me this would be happening too. And I got to tell you, that was long before the internet or even home computers. So to your point again, as have I been told things? I just trusted. I'd had no evidence of that in my life. And it's just been so exciting to see how our lives are evolving. So I'm, like I said, very optimistic for all of us.
Yeah. Now, there's one other question I want to ask you, and then we can switch over to Theo. Spirit wanted to talk to you and would shake the bed or levitate the bed or give you a very obvious message. What were the sorts of things that needed to be said that were important for you to be kind of gotten your attention in that way?
I think it was more for me to know. The messages weren't as profound as some that came later, but it was for me to know that this was something outside me that was coming to and through me, not that I was making up, because I was really trying to analyze everything, because I didn't know anybody that did anything like I was doing, that it could mentor me, could tell me it's okay, other than the angels teaching me as I went along. And so now I find that I am mentoring a lot of people, as I did Esther Hicks with Abraham, which is my joy. I love that because I didn't have a mentor. I just had to, do this on my own, but I had higher teachers that really helped me along, but I had to learn, and they told me I needed to have boundaries because, things happening in the middle of the night, in the middle of dinner when I was trying to feed my family and all that kind of stuff, it was just a little chaotic. So they taught me how to make a structure. I had to make a structure for doing this work. In fact, they told me one time, they said, if the angels wanted to have a lifetime, because they're using yours, then they should get a body themselves. So they said, you need to know that this is your life and you structure the time you work with them, because this is your life to live. And I took that to heart, and they've taught me all the way along.
Okay, one last question for you. Can anyone have this kind of a gift, or do you need to be near death or be just one of those rare people who's born with special abilities like this?
I would love to say that I'm probably more special than anybody, but I cannot. I believe that every one of us is psychic and intuitive, and it expresses in and through us in a way that's psychologically and emotionally comfortable. And you've probably heard there have been other people that have had near-death experiences that have opened up as well and have had some very profound messages and experiences in that opening. But it doesn't take that anymore. This time, this consciousness shift that's happening is for us to awaken and know that we're divine masters. One is not greater than another. Each of us channels energy, our soul energy and energy of the infinite in different ways. Artists, writers, musicians, they're all channeling that energy. So I really believe that, number one, yes, we're all capable, and if we're available to it and have we receive it in a way that we can. But however we're expressing the energy of our passion, we're all doing that. And anybody, Stephan, you know from your own experience, anybody that's successful in life is using their intuition, bar none, no doubt, because they're following that impulse, that nudge, as I would say, or listening to the whispers. Like you said, you feel it in the morning, in your morning practice. You can feel that energy in you. I believe we all have that, in however it expresses through us.
Yeah, yeah. And the more I'm aware of it, the more I have access to it. So it's not just in the mornings. Mm-hmm. There'll be times where I meet somebody in a Zoom breakout session. Like I met Mark Nelson, who I invited to be on my podcast. He told me, just kind of as a passing aside, that he was a medium, as well as he's an advertising and marketing person and copywriter and so forth. And then my ears perked up when he said medium. I just felt so compelled to have him on the show. And at the very moment that I interviewed him, a very close family member happened to be having a stroke, and my wife came in and interrupted me and slipped a paper to me to ask him, is this person having a stroke? And he said yes. And so because of that, she ended up going to the hospital. She wouldn't have gone otherwise. She was refusing to go. She said, I don't feel that well, but that's not a big deal. I'm just going to, sleep it off or whatever. No, she was having a stroke. And, thank God she went to the hospital, because it saved her life. And that was the only interview that I had done in 3 weeks. And it just so happened it was at the moment that this was, there are no coincidences. I know that. Yeah.
No. How fortunate.
Yeah.
Truly, that we're inspired. It all, the confluence of the universal energies or the quantum field working on our behalf, we can have those confirmations all the time that that's true.
Yeah. Yep. For sure. Okay. So whenever you're ready, I'd love to have Theo join us.
Okay, it only takes a second.
Okay.
Because I'm very comfortable with this now. I trust it implicitly. And what Theo does is they come in the right side of my body. They take over my throat, my vocal cords. They begin to speak, and then they take over the rest of my body. And there is an accent and voice change, a little more masculine than my own, but it's different. I like to warn people about that.
Yep.
If they've never heard it before. So here we go.
All right.
It is the beginning, is it not? We are appreciative of the opportunity to be of service unto you, you may ask.
Hello, thank you for joining me, and this is wonderful. I would love to know, what are angels?
Angel proficient beings that are here to teach and mentor and assist human expression upon this planet. High vibrational frequency that are from the source of what you may call God, source, force, whatever's comfortable in your thinking. And connected to each and every soul, there are legions of angels that are there to assist in the asking it is given.
And do we each get assigned our own angels that follow us through our lifetime? Is it just one? Is it several? Are they just available at any moment? How does that work?
They're omnipresent and they are available at all times. There are, in essence, a guardian angel that watches over you. And then there are mentors, guides, teachers. So there's more than one. But as you grow and learn, there are interchangeable angels, you might say, as teachers and mentors, some call guides.
There was a recent moment earlier this year when my wife Orion was in the car, and she was driving, and a guy was not paying attention. He was coming straight for her. He would have killed her if he didn't suddenly move away. And she just felt that there was an angel that moved his hand and, changed his trajectory so that he swerved out of the way right in the nick of time. Does that sound like that was an angel?
Yes.
Yeah.
There was an intervention that occurred for both of them.
Yeah.
That is so.
So how do you connect to the angels? Is there a process? Is there a quieting of the mind, or a prayer or something that helps facilitate that access?
So it's in the asking. It seems as simple as that, actually, is to say, I'm open and receptive to guidance from my angelic teachers now. But remember to ask. They're not going to usurp your free will unless it's an emergency situation, as your wife had. But they are there to assist. And know when you ask, you're receptive.
Right. Well, let's talk about free will, if you don't mind, for a couple minutes. What is free will, and what is not? Because I've heard in Kabbalah classes that free will is basically the decision to focus our attention on one thing versus another, and that's really the gist of it. And I'm curious to hear what your explanation is.
We would say that's true in a simple form. But understand, if you can believe that you're a divine master creator, which you are, that's what this time and this evolution of consciousness is about, for you each to have that fuller realization. But in this, that life is happening through you, not to you, and you are the creator, the manifester, if you would, of that life. And many would say, oh, the law of attraction or manifestation is not working for me. And we would differ with that to say it is always working for you. For you. You are constantly creating in life with your thoughts and your words. And ultimately your receptivity to having all your dreams and desires met. There is a realization that you're worthy of them. Yes?
Yeah.
And recognizing that self-worth allows you to be receptive for your dreams and desires to come to fruition, because the universal energy or quantum field is always working on your behalf, and it surrounds you. It is that infinite energy. When you make a decision, it aligns with that decision, whatever it is. It doesn't discern or judge what it is. It just aligns with it to bring it to fruition.
Right. And I remember hearing from Abraham through Esther that we have the power to create worlds within us. What does
You're creating your own. Yes.
but the
That's
power to
true.
create maybe planets, even like to with our consciousness that we can like anything is possible. Like where how far can this go? Like I'm curious for an example or two.
All things are possible and probable. The mind that can think up, dream up, create in thought is the same mind that can make it happen. Or you would not have been given the conscious thought. Oftentimes, these things are in the subconscious. Also, your resistances are in the subconscious as well. So when you become more conscious, you're aware of where the resistance lies, and you can change it.
And can this resistance also be negative forces, entities that don't want to have you reach your full potential, or they want to thwart your dreams or your happiness? Like, are there negative beings that feed on us, on our kind of soul energy attached to us, almost like a some leech or something like that?
Much has been spoken about that, but understand this, you're much more powerful than that. Nothing, no one can do anything to you without your permission or consent. That goes back to your questioning about willpower. You have all the power to say yes or no, and you're not a victim. Understand this, some feel victimized by human experience, but no, you volunteered. You chose to be incarnate, embodied in this time that's exquisite. If one can only change their perception of life, that it's happening for you, not against you, and it's happening through you in your creative process.
Okay. So one of my daughters, my middle daughter, has not spoken to me in a long time, and I've actually gone through this exercise for our listener. You may be aware of that from the Byron Katie episode. I did the 4 questions and the turnaround process about this, but my daughter, Ilsa, is not speaking to me, and it's very painful. I've reached out many times, and I had heard from someone who has some extra sensory abilities, that there is some sort of negative force attached to her, and it's feeding off of her, and that's why she's at this lower level and doesn't reach out to get to know her baby brother or speak to me, her father, and stuff. And I don't know. I don't know what to ask about this other than how can I help her to feel better and to be happy.
So we would first say that would be a convenient excuse, would it not? What is happening, however, is that she has certain perceptions of expectations she felt that you did not meet for her. Whatever they may be, true or false, it's her perception. So what is necessary to do is for that perception to be changed, and there will be an opportunity of conversation in time. But what you can do is you can talk to her soul. Her personality isn't willing to listen yet, but you can speak to her soul. You use a meditative or altered state practice. So in that altered state, you can speak to her, centering on the heart, for that is the seat of the soul, and say, the soul of Stephan wishes to speak to the soul of, and give her name. And you will feel the connection. Your sensitivity, your intuitive abilities are very strong. You may even see her etherically as well, but you'll be connected. And then you can let her know that you love her and are open to reception. But also you can do a disentanglement, which frees this energy, which you can say, I give back to you all your power you have given to me in multidimensional experiences and time, and I give your power back to you with love, and I take back from you all my power I have given to you in all time and multidimensional experience, and I take my power back from you with love now. So that disentangles with love any of that perceptivity that is in the way. And just speak to her in this way with the state of unconditional love, and allow her process. And she will speak about it, and then you can shift. But now the personality is so ingrained with being right, you have to go through the soul first, for the soul has no judgment about this.
Okay, thank you. Do we have many lifetimes, infinite lifetimes, one lifetime? How does that work? Because I'm curious, for example, if my daughter and I had a relationship of some sort in a previous lifetime, and maybe some of the baggage from that carried over into this lifetime.
You've known each other before, yes. And the answer to all those questions is yes, because it's soul choice. It's not demanded of you to come into this body. It's a choice to do so. And you can have many or one. It is all dependent on those choices. But in answer to the question of knowing your daughter and other human experiences, that is true. And so, as your soul is like a diamond with many facets, the facets being different lifetimes and experiences, that what is occurring now is, let's say, the light is shining on one of those facets that is your life together this time. However, yes, it can influence the lessons or the opportunity of lesson in a particular lifetime, but it is in this lifetime being expressed as it is for the greater good and learning of you both.
How do we know what our purpose or the thing we're supposed to be working on is for this lifetime?
Because you're living it. Purpose, your purpose is being alive. Mm-hmm. To be fortunate enough to be in this body. You won the lottery, didn't you?
Yeah.
To have a body. And so what happens in that, in the expression of life, is lived it in it. So one always seeks, what is my purpose? That is it, life. Now, what you speak about is how you express your energy in a life is passion, is energetic focus. And as you observe your life, you can see it's not a straight path. It has twists and turns like a meandering stream. But each twist and turn you learn from, and it makes you the person you are this moment, this day. So you can observe how you did this and that and another thing that's influenced in your moment of the now. So that is life's gift to you. So you can notice how you came about in your passion in the work that you do. You could not do anything else. Actually, you've tried. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a matter of experience, though, because all the things you've tried before has given you information and feedback for what you do now. So it's all perfectly aligned, soulfully aligned.
Yeah. Is it predetermined? Like, before I was born, I was destined to be an SEO expert and consultant and author and all those things?
It's just your soul's expression. Actually, you're an artist. And that's how you use your artistry, your creativity. So in essence, yes, that soul imprint of being the artisan is just expressing in this particular art in this lifetime. Would you do it again in another time? Probably in a more advanced way, but it's all a choice of that expression.
I see. And with artificial intelligence evolving and being able to write things that humans don't even recognize were written by an algorithm, and we'll get to a point soon where AIs will be able to paint and compose symphonies and all that. What does that mean for us as humans, as creators, artists, inventors, dreamers? Like, where do we fit in to that future?
So someone is creating the algorithm, are they not?
Yes.
So that's how you fit in. You create the algorithm that can do that. Because when one says artificial intelligence, that's not quite true, is it? For there is a human component to it. And in those creations of those algorithms, there would be the human quotient of emotion coming from the human. Otherwise, there would be none.
Okay. I want to ask about cancer. And there's somebody I love who is a family member who just told me this week that he has cancer. I would love to know how I can help him with his cancer, and I really would like him to heal. He wants to stick around. He doesn't want this to be the end of his lifetime here, and I want to be of service to him, and I want to help him, and I want him to stick around too.
That's very loving and caring on your part, and his as well, because he loves life. So we would suggest that he doesn't claim it, own it. He is experiencing an imbalance in his body that they've named cancer.
Yes.
There's a difference in that, you see. So encourage him when he speaks of it, not to say, I am or I have. He's experiencing an imbalance, a virus actually, that is called cancer. But to place the intention of what can I learn from it? When it's here, there's an opportunity, a great learning. Be curious about it. Be curious about this evolution of understanding of who he is in the process. And love the body. Do not judge the body. Each day, one should address the body with love. And the information, the gift it will give, and listen to it. It's quite a strenuous path that has been chosen, but it will be quite fruitful and enlightening. And we would speak to you to use the word assist rather than help.
Okay.
Help infers one is lesser than, so you would like to assist him to be more comfortable, and assisting can be communication. Let him know you love him. Ask him what you can do to assist, and have conversations. Allow him to speak how he's feeling. He's been very intellectual. This is giving him the opportunity to connect to his heart, to his soul center, and to his feelings, which is excellent. Not to be afraid of them.
Is there a possibility of healing from the cancer?
Yes. As we stated, it's just an imbalance. Okay. One can come back to balance again.
Okay.
To do what is necessary for, yes, listen to the medical professionals, but understand that the MD does not mean minor deity. So it is not to put all the power on that individual or individuals. Have a collaboration. For each of you knows your body better than anybody else. And if those medical professionals that are assisting don't listen, find someone who does. Because it is collaboration to achieve the balance. And yes, the possibility of longevity is good.
Okay, thank you. And how do we connect with our body to heal whatever might be inside of us, cancer or heart disease or diabetes or what have you? One of my daughters got a reading recently. And the psychic said that there might be something going on with my digestive system, and so that got me worried. But then, so I don't know what to make of that, and if I need to go get scanned or whatever. But I'm also curious about, for our listener or viewer, what they can do to be ahead of potential health problems.
So you might think back to the day that she had that reading, and if your stomach was upset because of something you ate. We see no great problem here, but it's only a matter of maintenance. And now and again, you do have some digestive upsets, do you not?
Yeah.
So it's made you more acutely aware of your diet. It's not a diet and deprivation. We like to call it a live it when you pay attention to your body. And most people have some gut issue. So it is a matter of maintenance and paying attention to it. But we see no great harm to you. It's just giving you feedback of where you need to be aware.
Yeah. I need to eat less sugar. I know that.
Less sugar, less gluten, actually, but you don't eat a lot of gluten where you are now. But paying attention to that because it's aggravative to the digestive system. So small, moderate amounts you could have now and again. It's not to deprive yourself.
Okay.
And know when you eat enough protein, you won't crave sugar.
Okay. Got it. So I learned in Kabbalah that it's best to pray for certainty and for desire rather than for various wishes to come true. Like rather than treat the source energy, the creator, as your genie that's going to magically show up with big checks in the mail for you, to pray for more certainty and more desire. I would love to hear your take on that.
You will find it interesting. We would agree with the Kabbalah often because it is true. Prayers are wishes. Decisions are where manifestation begins. So if you're thinking that some white-headed, bearded individual sitting on a mountain is going to rush down the mountain and hand you a pot of money or a car or whatever one might need or want, no, you are the creator. You are the one running down the mountain to make it happen. So it is thought, knowing you deserve all those dreams and desires, and they will be met. Make a decision for them. And know the universal energy, the infinite energy will bring you resources, people, whatever you need, money, whatever it is that's aligned with what you need to create whatever you decided for. But when those opportunities knock at your door, it's not just you open the door and everything is given you. There's some effort on your part, or we prefer to say action on your part, not effort. There's some work to be done.
Okay.
So an opportunity presents, you either say no or yes to it. Yes?
Yes.
So it's awareness. It's awareness. And know that you are creator of everything. When individuals accept that that is true, then you're more mindful and judicious of those decisions that you make.
Mm-hmm. I have one last question, and that is, what happens to people who have done unspeakable things? I think of like Hitler and other evil people. Do they cease to exist? Do they get another shot at making good in another lifetime? What happens?
So it's all an evolution of consciousness. Of course, when one terms something as evil, that is a broad brush stroke, isn't it? Not knowing what all of those things are there for in the evolution of consciousness. But what happens to those people is they are responsible as a soul to their actions, just as you are. And so, as others may want retribution to some, the soul will always in its evolution of growth, have to attend to whatever actions have been done. Meaning, for every action, there's an equal reaction. And most often, you are the worst judger of self than anything out in the world could be.
Thank you so much, Theo. I really, really appreciate and honor your presence and sharing your wisdom with me and my listeners and viewers. Thank you.
It is our privilege and pleasure to assist in the asking it is given. It is continuous. God's love unto you. Good day. Hi, Stephan.
Hi. Well, that was amazing.
Oh, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Amazing. Yeah. So I know we're out of time, but I also know that you have a course coming up that we should tell our listeners to check out that's coming in January. And so do you want to take a moment to just direct our listener / viewer to that course to sign up?
Well, thank you for that opportunity. Yes, at asktheo.com, we have several mentoring programs that we do throughout the year. But in January, we're starting a 6-month program called the Accelerator. So those who might be interested in working with Theo for that opportunity could go to asktheo.com/accelerator.
Wonderful.
Thank you for allowing me to mention that.
Of course. I want our listener to take the next step here because it's such an amazing opportunity. I only just recently learned of Theo, and I've known of Abraham for, I don't know, 5 years now, but maybe 6, 7. Anyways, but I'm very, very, very grateful for you sharing your wisdom, sharing Theo's wisdom, and light with the world and with my listeners. And so asktheo.com is the website. asktheo.com/accelerator is the URL for the program.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and we have many other things on the website that are opportunities of being mentored and hearing from Theo. We've got over 300 hours of information there. So
right, you have a membership program so people can join that and access a wonderful large archive of videos and audios and so forth. Wonderful.
Yes, we have something for everybody if they're interested.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sheila. And thank you, listener, and I hope you'll take some positive action, powerful action from this episode and apply it in your life and the lives of others. Thank you.